we've got our next race, the Classic Mini Racing Championship, about to get underway.
And on page 43 in the programme is where to head. There's a couple of changes to the programme. You have 2 extras. Cars number 4 is Thomas O'Farrell and 26 is Susie Inch. A couple of extras for Thomas O'Farrell, 26 Susie Inch. So the cars head on to the green flag lap. Let's have a look at how they will line up. On the front row will be 10 David Kirkpatrick and 11 is Nev Kirkpatrick. On row 2 is 6 Ben Seafried and 46 Dave Burns. And on row 3, 777 is Dave Rees and 7 is Steve Rideout. On row 4 is 4 Thomas O'Farrell and 42 Will Burnham. On row 5, 40 is Chris Didcott, and alongside him is 28 James Bryan. On row 6, 123 Andrew Hack and 24 is Tal Butler. And on row 7, 41 is Tim Seaford and 26 is Susie Inch. Row 8 is where we find 14 Tristan Beard and 97 is Nick Townend. And on row 9 is 53 and that is the car of Kevin Taylor. So 17 cars on the grid is what we're expecting for this post-1976 mini race for the 1275cc A-Series engine cars. All with 4-speed transmissions. Cars minimum weight 725 kilograms, so not the most powerful cars, but with the lightweight they still are very quick and might lap just under a minute around this Brands Hatch Indy Circuit. We did see that in qualifying yesterday from the 2 brothers up front, the 2 Kirkpatricks, who have done most of the winning this year. Well, Nev Kirkpatrick has actually done most of the winning because he's had 6 of the 9 races have gone his way. Dave Kirkpatrick, who's on pole today, has had a win. Chris Morgan, who we saw out a little bit earlier, has had a win, as has Andrew Hack. That means in the championship, Nev Kirkpatrick's got quite a strong points lead heading into the 2 races here at Brands Hatch this weekend, but he's not the man on pole position. That's his brother Dave. So we've seen so many races between these 2 here at Mini Festival over the years in different mini categories. Now in the Classic Mini Racing Championship, we expect to see another one. What can the drivers behind do, though, to try and mix it up with the Kirkpatrick brothers? I suspect Ben Seafried and Dave Burns will be 2 drivers looking to make strong starts to get ahead. 20 minutes of mini racing once more is in store. I'm afraid Andrew Hack is one driver we won't be seeing over the course of this race. It seems his car is missing on row 6. The rest are there, though. The 5-second board has already been displayed. The red lights come on now. 20 minutes of classic mini racing is go, with a pretty even start between the Kirkpatricks. Very good start from Steve Rideout, but that means there's contact with a couple of others. They've all survived the moment, but Rideout is up into 3rd place from 6th on the grid. That was quite the start, but it is David Kirkpatrick. There's more contact at Paddock Hill Bend. One car is having a very, very large moment, and there's further contact. There's going to be a car into the barriers, I'm afraid, which is the James Bryan driven car. Car number 38 was an innocent victim. I think in all of that there is a damaged car, which is presumably the car that was made contact. Was that Dave Burns? Possibly. Meanwhile, the leaders have changed positions at Graham Hill Bend. Nev Kirkpatrick took the lead, but that start, Mark, was all a bit more eventful than it needed to be.
It was because we had good starts from the likes of Steve Rideout, but Ben Seafried got a really slow start, and that sort of bottled everybody up, and then there was that contact which saw Dave Burns getting into the side of somebody, and as he tried to gather up his moment, unfortunately that was what pitched that car into the gravel trap in the hands of James Bryan. So we go red flag instantly with that car in the barriers, and it looks as though James is just chatting to the marshals at the moment. It's also removed some of the Recticel barriers from the front of the Armco barrier, so that will all need sorting out as well. So there's a bit of circuit furniture that needs doing as well.
But back here today at Mini Festival, we have a green flag lap, because well done again to our marshals over there at Paddock Hill Bend and the recovery team, the MSV staff as well, that helped out with the barriers. That means we can get this green flag lap underway for the Classic Mini Championship. Something very different to Formula E, and 15 minutes of racing to look forward to. We didn't really get a feel, did we, in that one lap that we had, what might happen, other than a few drivers perhaps having a think about how to do the start a little bit differently.
Yeah, so I think of all of those, it will be that black car, the number 6 car that starts 3rd on the grid, Ben Seafried, that will be hoping he either gets the revs right or gets the clutch released in time, or is able to counter the wheel spin, whatever the problem was that caused him to get slowly away. It'll be interesting to see how David Burns gets on as well at the wheel of his hastily repaired number 46 Mini that's going to line up alongside him on that 2nd row of the grid. Yeah,
this green flag lap quite important just to understand if everything is straight for the likes of Dave Burns, and it was just bodywork. It appeared to be just bodywork, but this lap will just give him that confirmation should that be the case. So the cars making their way up to the grid, being led by David Kirkpatrick. We did see that big dive down the inside at Graham Hill Bend, didn't we, from Nev Kirkpatrick? So he was keen to get to the front. The race slightly shorter now at 15 minutes. Well, actually, that's still a lot of racing laps around the Brands Hatch Indy Circuit, even in a Mini. So here they come up to the line. We may be missing one or two. We had already seen that Andrew Hack was not a starter. James Bryan won't be a starter, so there'll be a bit of a gap in the middle of the grid, but I think everyone else will be there, maybe with a car that's not quite in the same form that they hoped it would be. But on the pole position with the Union Jack on the roof is the car of David Kirkpatrick. He's only had that one win this season, which came at Silverstone when Nev Kirkpatrick had one or two mechanical issues on the last lap. So he'll be desperate to beat his brother Nev today in front of thousands of Mini enthusiasts here at Brands Hatch. So the cars are all in place. Green flag is waved at the back. The start line marshal will give the 5-second board to notify the drivers. The race is about to begin. The red lights come on now. The lights go out. The race gets underway with a pretty even start. A bad start from Dave Burns this time, who's going to lose several positions on the way up towards Paddock Hill Bend, but it's side by side for the lead. Much better start from Ben Seaford. There's a bit of contact around Dave Burns as he gets up to speed, but into Paddock Hill Bend they go. There's quite a lot of smoke now from Dave Burns' car because he just had contact back on the corner that he just fixed. Big dive up the inside here from Nev Kirkpatrick. I think there's contact between the two of them now, isn't there, up at the hairpin? Not sure what's got into classic Mini drivers. They've been watching all the other Mini racing all morning. They fancy a bit of this. David Kirkpatrick's on the grass as he dives back up the inside of Ben Seafried. Then he slides a little wide, so Nev Kirkpatrick, the race leader, tries to pull away.
So Nev Kirkpatrick has got a little bit of a break through all of this because they've been fighting away. David Kirkpatrick does hang on to second place. Ben Seafried has to settle for third at the moment. Fourth place is going to be Dave Rees. Steve Rideout will be there in fifth position, and sixth at this stage, I think that's Will Burnham that's there in sixth, but lots and lots of smoke coming from the number 46 car of David Burns. Whilst he might have satisfied the scrutineers that all was well with his car, I do wonder if he might see either the meatball flag, the black and orange mechanical warning flag, or whether he might decide of his own volition to come into the pits.
Yeah, we have indeed got the black and orange flag. You'd kind of think he might have came in the pits at that point, but he likes driving around Brands Hatch seemingly. Into the pits is the car that hit him, I think, on that start, which is the car of Tal Butler. So he's into the pit lane. There's going to be quite a bit of work in the paddock, I suspect, after this. Nev Kirkpatrick led by a way half a lap ago. He doesn't anymore. Dave Kirkpatrick's closed in on the race leader as they turn through Graham Hill Bend. They're absolutely nose to tail as they head up towards Surtees. On the inside looks David Kirkpatrick. There is just about a Mini's width to try and squeeze alongside his brother, but he decides to sit in behind as they turn through the right-hander at Clearways. He takes a much wider line through Clearways, which might give him better momentum onto the Brabham Straight.
You'd have thought the two would work together to try and clear Ben Seafried, but for the moment it's elbows out from both of them. Nev Kirkpatrick leads the way. David Kirkpatrick draws alongside him and is going to be literally door handle to door handle as they head up towards Paddock Hill Bend. Nev just pushes his brother a little bit wide going into the corner, so David can't turn in, and therefore the order still remains the same. Now that they've squabbled, Ben Seafried is not that far away in third, and the Dayglow yellow car of Steve Rideout is beginning to close in as well to make it fourth for the lead.
I think the Kirkpatricks have raced hard against each other for too long to work together, and they desperately want to beat each other, particularly as Nev has won a lot of the races this year. Dave is very, very keen today to put one right on it. He's a bit further back in the championship, so he hasn't got to worry too much, I don't think, about a championship picture. He's way up the curb through Surtees and into Clearways corner. This time he tries to take the title line. That is blocked by Nev, and he knows that Nev will then hug the inside line surely up towards Paddock Hill Bend, and he couldn't get past a lap ago, so David Kirkpatrick might have to reassess where a opportunity will come. Battle behind is pretty close too between Ben Seafried and Stephen Rideout, and this time the gap is there for Dave to have a look, but he elects against it for now. I'm sure another move is coming very shortly.
Just having a quick look, Tom O'Farrell on that lap now. The number 4 car moves up into 6th position. Down to 7th goes the yellow and black number 42 in the hands of Will Burnham. So they've had a little shuffle for the order, but it's still Nev Kirkpatrick that leads the way. David Kirkpatrick again was sort of almost, what, a third of the way alongside, heading down in towards Graham Hill Bend, but has to tuck back behind again to get themselves back into single file order. Ben Siegfried, number 6, still trying to keep Steve Rideout behind him and try and hang on to the final place on the podium, but we've still got 11 minutes of this race to go. Those differing lines again taken by the front two heading in towards Clearways, and David Kirkpatrick gets a bit more of an overlap this time. He's quicker off the corner, but he's got the wider arc to take round through Clark Curve. Nev Kirkpatrick will also have the inside line when they head up towards Paddock Hill Bend. Are we going to have a change for order for the lead of the race? Nev Kirkpatrick still has got that inside line and is still going to hang on to the lead at Paddock Hill.
There's a bit of trim on the right-hand side of Nev Kirkpatrick car that's come adrift after some of the contact earlier in the race. So he'll be hoping that doesn't become a concern to the officials. Meanwhile, for third place, Steve Rideout tries to go right around the outside of Ben Siegfried at Druids. They run side by side as they come down the hill into Graham Hill Bend for third place. So Rideout then on the inside takes the place away from Siegfried, who cuts back immediately, rides the curb on the inside, but doesn't actually have the momentum. So Rideout is up to third.
Yeah, and they've got right with them now as well the car of Dave Rees, who is bringing with him Tom O'Farrell, who has really had a good charge through the order. Tom O'Farrell started 7th. Yes, he's up to 6th, but he's on the coattails now of the cars ahead. Front two still getting away. They are working together to a small degree at this stage. They are lapping quicker than the cars behind by about 4 or 5 tenths of a second. And as they come over the start-finish line again, as has been the case for the last 2 or 3 laps, they go side by side up towards Paddock Hill Bend. David Kirkpatrick is trying every time to get himself into the lead of the race, but he just can't get there, can he?
No, he's had a couple of wonders how to get past at Paddock Hill Bend. That doesn't seem to be possible at this point in this 15-minute race as it is now. There's 9.5 minutes left. A better run out of Druids from Dave. He looks to the outside of Nev into Graham Hill Bend. Nev goes a bit sideways, so this could be David Kirkpatrick's opportunity as they come down the Cooper Straight and up towards 30's corner, but Nev Kirkpatrick gets across the front and is still in the lead, then still ahead of David Kirkpatrick. So go through McLaren again. It's like a replay every lap, isn't it? Nev Kirkpatrick holds the inside. David Kirkpatrick tries to take the swooping line with sort of less angle on the steering wheel. We hope to get better momentum out of the corner, but doesn't seem to pay off for David Kirkpatrick. So he's going to have to get back in the tow, try again to closing, which is absolutely what's happening up towards Paddock Hill Bend. This time, no overlapping, so they turn into Paddock Hill Bend. Nev Kirkpatrick ahead of David. They may be battling, but they're still faster than anybody else. These two super experienced drivers, so quick around here. There's
some good fights going on towards the tail end of the order as well. 41, Tim Seaford fighting away with the red car, number 26, in the hands of Susie Inch. And also, you've got Nick Townend in there as well at the wheel of the pink machine, who has got a little bit of damage to his bumper. I think that was because of the first incident that brought about the red flag. So they're having a great fight towards the tail end of the order, just like the leaders are as well.
Which has changed, because David Kirkpatrick's through on the exit of Druids momentarily, because Nev Kirkpatrick back round the outside, Mark.
He is. He's trying around the outside at Surtees to get the inside line for McLaren, and he's going to go back through, or is he? David Kirkpatrick is, going to lose the lead of the race. Nev retakes the lead, so as far as the lap charts are concerned, nothing has changed, but that doesn't tell the story of the lap that we've just seen. So they'll come over the start-finish line. Nev Kirkpatrick back in the lead.
But again, Dave is going to have another go at this. So the outside at Paddock Hill Bend. But again, Nev Kirkpatrick waits until he turns into the corner, which makes it a bit awkward for David Kirkpatrick. But it's interesting, isn't it? When Nev was in second place, it took very little time for him to retake the lead.
Yeah, he's just been so good this year, Nevin Kirkpatrick. Say the 3 races that he hasn't won, he's finished second in 2 of them, one at the opening round at Alton Park and last time out at Donington Park, and then of course he had that one at Silverstone.
Runs a little wide at Graham Hill Bend. Is that going to give David Kirkpatrick a chance to draw up alongside? Yes, it has. They're side by side at 30s this time, but with David Kirkpatrick on the inside, but he uses the brake pedal and that just slows the car down too much, and back round the outside goes Nev Kirkpatrick. What was it Nick Padmore said? You need to kick your foot flat to the floor through 30s, and that what Nev Kirkpatrick did. to hang on to the lead.
Yeah, absolutely. Keep it absolutely nailed and hope that those Nankan controlled tyres that they all run hang on over the start-finish line. Back to being side by side again once more. He's not quite there to the same degree this time, so Nev should still hang on to it as they turn their way through Paddock Hill Bend. David Kirkpatrick still having to settle for second at the moment. Steve Rideout in third. Ben Siegfried down into fourth, but coming under pressure from the number 4 car of Tom O'Farrell that sits behind. We're side by side for the lead again round through Druids, but Nev Kirkpatrick somehow still just keeps hanging on in the lead.
What a race Tom O'Farrell's having. He's just set the fastest lap of the race, a 60.001, which is 7 tenths quicker than he went in qualifying yesterday. So I think a first race in the Mini for Tom. He's still got the novice cross on the back of his car, and what a race he's having, up into 5th place and going quicker than anyone else.
Yeah, he's pretty good at esports, is Tom O'Farrell as well. So seen him out competing in various little esports categories. So he is about to work his way over the start-finish line very shortly, because here come the leading pair towards the end of the lap. The tail enders are just working their way round through Graham Hill Bend at the moment, but the leaders still together, not quite overlapping, still to the same degree as they head towards Paddock Hill Bend. But usual case, Nev Kirkpatrick has the inside line at Paddock Hill Bend. David Kirkpatrick is going to have to settle for second place once more, and as they go out of the corner, Nev Kirkpatrick was on the very edge of the circuit there, as much apex speed as he could carry, but they've got traffic now to deal with, and staying well and truly out of the harm's way is David Burns.
Yes, and I think he's been in the pits, but the car's not any more fixed than it was previously, so he's back out, and I think the race officials would quite like him to come back into the pit lane pretty sharpish. So the leaders work their way past Dave Burns' slightly bent Mini, and now they continue their battle with Nev Kirkpatrick, as he has done for much of the race, leading the way. But David Kirkpatrick sees the gap at Clearways, has a look to the inside. They were very, very close at that point, weren't they, as they turned their way through Clearways corner, because David Kirkpatrick just sensed the gap. Because they've been battling so hard over the last 3 or 4 laps, Steve Rideout has nearly caught them, and there's still just under 5 minutes to go.
Yeah, Steve Rideout was 6 tenths of a second quicker on the previous lap. He was 2 tenths of a second quicker on that lap, so he is now within a second of the front runners. If they slow each other up anymore, Steve Rideout could be in to sneak through. His best result of the season so far was in the middle race of the 3 we had at Silverstone, where he was in second place. He's had a couple of thirds, he's had plenty of fourths, he's had a 5th. He's not had a win as yet so far this year, but he's edging up towards the leading pair, and if they're not careful, they might get caught.
Yeah, it looks that way, and they're so intently watching each other, aren't they? They're not perhaps seeing, although it's not an easy car to miss, really, that one, is it? The one of Steve Rideout. But for David Kirkpatrick, that's probably very few times he's looked in his mirror. He's been so focused forwards on Nev Kirkpatrick. There should be 4 further laps to go at the end of this one, and we're getting closer and closer for the first time in this race, really, to have a 3-car battle for the win. Nev Kirkpatrick leads. Dave Kirkpatrick in second, in the slipstream, catching all the way down the Brabham Straight, pulls out to the left-hand side of the circuit, brakes very late. But Nev Kirkpatrick just knows where to place the car. This time, though, runs out wide, and this is going to be the opportunity, surely, for Dave to go for the lead. He's on the inside into the Druids hairpin. They both brake late. That brings Steve Rideout even closer than he already was, but David Kirkpatrick lead. Now, each time he's took the lead, it hasn't taken long for Nev to come back past, and he darts to the outside, he slides around the outside, he's over the curbing, but he keeps on coming, he keeps trying to draw up alongside David Kirkpatrick, but I think for the first time in this race, David Kirkpatrick's now led for 3 corners. Yeah, there was a very slight touch, and it was the lightest of little rubs between the pair of them, bumper to bumper, as they overlapped coming out of Graham Hill Bend. The top 3 cars all set their best individual laps of the race last time through, and for Steve Rideout, he was still a quarter of a second quicker than the pair ahead, so the gap is now down to just 8 tenths of a second that he needs to catch them by. He is picking up a bit of the tow from the hole in the air of the leading pair, but David Kirkpatrick finally manages to lead a lap here. He's got Nev right behind him still, though, and there are only 2.5 minutes to go, as they're now on lap number 13. Up towards the hairpin, that's where the positions change a lap ago. This time David Kirkpatrick is quite wide, so Nev will try to see if he can get an overlap. He can't quite get an overlap, but he was late on the brakes here a lap ago, so has a look to the outside. Good battles behind as well, Mark. Yeah, Tom O'Farrell manages to get through and take 4th place away from Ben Siegfried, who is trying to fight back. So the number 4 car now up into 4th place. Ben Siegfried in the all-black car down into 5th position for the lead of the race. So Nev Kirkpatrick up the inside of David Kirkpatrick as they
they head towards Clearways Corner. They are absolutely side by side. Need to be careful they don't push each other out wide. Steve Rideout will be more than happy that they are still squabbling, because they'll be heading on to their penultimate lap of the race this time through. We are side by side for the lead of the race. What can Steve Rideout do? Can he pick the pocket of the front pair? Because they are so busy squabbling with each other. He is now absolutely with them.
That's right. So Nev Kirkpatrick reclaims the lead at paddock. Tomo Farrell just about hanging on to fourth position from Ben Seafried, utilising the wide line through Paddock Hill Bend, and he carried the speed through the corner really well. But for the lead of the race, it's Nev Kirkpatrick back ahead of David, and then Steve Rideout with this great view. Is he going to attack them, or is he just going to wait to see if something kicks off between the two of them? Because it's been close on a couple of occasions on recent laps. There's only going to be that one further lap at the end of this one. David Kirkpatrick looks to the inside at Surtees, rides the curb on the inside of the corner, sees if there's an opportunity at Clearways. There's not, so he drives around the outside, and that could be an opportunity that Steve Rideout might use. But no, he's still in there behind. David Kirkpatrick's got a good run, and this is going to be the opportunity. Paddock Hill Bend, the last lap.
Yeah, this might be David Kirkpatrick just seeing where he needs to be, maybe if a charge to the line is going to decide this one. They are still side by side up towards Paddock Hill Bend, and again Nevin Kirkpatrick is that little bit later on turn in, so David just can't turn in, so that protects the lead of the race again through Paddock Hill Bend. Nothing David Kirkpatrick could do about that there. Steve Rideout still needs to close up by maybe another mini length to stand a chance, because they are now onto their last lap of the race. We're into the final 20 seconds of it. Niven Kirkpatrick has led most so far. Is he going to lead the most important one?
Let's see, because they're as close as they could possibly be as they make their way down the Cooper Straight. It's never ahead of David. The Steve Rideout seem to just drop back, waiting to see if something happens at Clearways Corner. David Kirkpatrick looks to the inside. Nev Kirkpatrick parks the car on the apex, and Steve Rideout goes much quicker through Clearways than the two in front, but runs a little bit wide. Now it's the race to the line. Is Nev Kirkpatrick going to hang on? Well, David Kirkpatrick pops out of the toe. The closest finish yet is about to happen, and it is Nev Kirkpatrick who takes it by the smallest of margins. What was that? 1/10 of a second.
And the top three cars covered by 6/10 of a second. Steve Rideout finishing in third place. Tomo Farrell and Ben Seafried finishing fourth and fifth. Dave Rees comes through to finish in sixth position. Seventh place will go the way of the number 42 car, which is going to be the car of Will Burnham, and then we wait the arrival of the next couple of cars over the start-finish line, which are still busy squabbling away, actually. So the next car through should be the car of Will Burnham, but he has lost out on this final lap, because sneaking through goes Tristan Beard, who is going to take the place away and finish in what will be 8th position. Ninth will go the way of number 40, Chris Didcott. Completing the top 10 will be Susie Inch, and then outside of the top 10 is number 97, which is Nick Townend, followed by the 41, which is Tim Seaford, and then the last of the finishers is going to be Kevin Taylor, who started off the back of the grid. A couple of cars that we lost along the way. We lost the number 46 car with its mechanical troubles with the bodywork rubbing on the wheels, David Burns. We also lost, of course, 24 of James Bryan as well before the red flag, and another car that also did not see the checkered flag was Theo Butler, who came in with some damage. We can confirm some results for you as well for that first of two Classic Mini Championship races. We've got one more race coming up for you prior to the lunch break, and that will be the sole non-mini race that we've got today. That will be for the Clubman Sports Prototype Championship. That will be the next of the races that will be coming up, and then we're into the lunch break with the grid walk as well, which we have not heard to the contrary that it is not going ahead. So if you want to get involved, go to the top of Paddock Hill Bend where the ambulance gate is up there, and then when the time is right, when all the cars are on the grid and ready to go, with their drivers assembled, we can get you involved with the grid walk if you're here at Brands. Confirmation of the results then. Niven Kirkpatrick claims yet another win to make it 7 wins so far this year, from David Kirkpatrick in second place and Steve Rideout there in third. Tomo Farrell was there in fourth place, ahead of Ben Seafried and Dave Rees, who complete the top 6. Then it was Will Burnham, Tristan Beard, Chris Didcock and Susie Inch that were next up. The cars that did not finish the race, well, David Burns into the pit lane with his bodywork damage, Theo Butler into the pit lane with his bodywork damage. And of course, we know of the whereabouts of James Bryan. He brought about the red flag, and poor Andrew Hack didn't even make it to the grid, but hopefully he'll be back out later on today. So that's it for the moment for Classic Mini Championship, until we have spoken to our drivers who are down there with Josh.
Yes, and Nev Kirkpatrick trying to fix his car after what was a bit of an eventful race at times, Nev.
It was really tough, that. Really, really hard work. I think there's nothing between me and my brother, and it was see if you can find a gap, and we did a couple of times, and he came past, I went past, and could have been anyone's, but yeah, hot, tired, and happy with that one.
It looked like whenever Dave was able to pass you, you did manage to make a move quite quickly on him.
I tried. Don't want to let him get into a rhythm, and because I think he could be quicker, but yeah, if you just keep in his mirrors and distract him with it and hope for the best, and it worked out, so I'm all right with that.
Well done. So there's Nev Kirkpatrick, winner. Dave was in second place. You gave it your best shot to beat him, but is that annoying brother that always comes out on top, it seems?
Yeah, it was a close battle. I don't think there's a panel that's not been hit, so yeah. But yeah, no, it's hard work that, so yeah, good fun. We'll do it all again in a couple of hours' time. Yeah,
it was a bit more eventful perhaps than some of the races so far this year.
Yeah, it was tough, but good fun, so yeah. We'll have another go later on.
Well, good luck later. Second place, and then third was Steve, who I think is over here. Steve, it looks like your car's seen better days as well. It was overheating a bit.
I'm quite happy with that. Come third from 6, that's good. Good, 2 good starts, so yeah, happy with that. Brilliant.
It looked like with them 2 scrapping, you were going to get them, but not quite.
I was waiting. You know what I mean? Waiting. So yeah, it was good. It was good fun.
Well done. I think we're quickly going to get the 3 drivers to the podium, so we're going to have a quick podium presentation before our next race. So the podium for the Classic Mini Racing Championship in 3rd position. First, so Steve Ryder onto the 3rd step of the podium here at Brands Hatch. And in 2nd place was David Kirkpatrick. So up onto the 2nd step of the podium comes Dave, member of the BRSCC, the organising club for the championship. Up passes over the trophy. Up onto the 2nd step gets David Kirkpatrick, and the winner, Nev Kirkpatrick. Congratulations, Nev. He gets the BRSCC Winners' Cup. He gets the winner's trophy and a bottle of bubblies. Up onto the top step of the podium for Nev Kirkpatrick, the winner here at Mini Festival. More racing though coming up. So upstairs to Mark Werrell we shall go.